for all people, but particularly folk of color, Hispanic folk, Black folk, I'm just saying everybody and anybody, but those groups of us who have not traditionally been empowered to vote, who now have that right to vote. It's so important that we exercise this. So I just want to welcome my friend David Castillo, who is the Hispanic Chamber, Oklahoma City Hispanic Chamber ED or president. David, you can fix me up. And Gabriele, I call her Gabby Ramirez-Perez, who's with OK Policies, our immigration policy analyst. Unmute yourself, Gabby. Who's going to be with us. Let me ask you guys, we'll take 2 minutes to talk about this population. Uh, but I want to ask you personally, when you said, why do you vote? David, why do you vote? Why is it important for you to vote?
Well, I think it's very important, Angela. Nice to hear you say this, everyone. It's so important to vote. We have many people that complain about what's going on in certain areas, but they don't step up to the plate to go vote. It's up to us to put people in place that will support our issues, our values, the things that we want accomplished. And the only way to do that is for you to vote and get out there and have people supporting the things that you're wanting them to do.
We muted Gabby a minute because she was having some audio problems. We'll see if we can get her back in. But David, you and I worked together for a long time. You were a member of the Oklahoma City School Board, the Board of Education. Now you're there leading the chamber. So describe for us from those key positions, critical positions that you sit, from business and economics, from education, what the impact that we can have on voting, and why it's important for people to engage, whether just casting a vote or to engage as a concerned citizen in those areas. And then, of course, take some time to tell us about the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Sure. Yeah, it's so important, especially in the Latino community. The Latino community is growing so fast, not just in Oklahoma, but Oklahoma City. Angela and I, we sat on the school board together in Oklahoma City. Back then, I want to say it was probably somewhere around 40% Latino. It's 60% Latino now. And so that tells you a lot. That tells you the growth of the Latino community. And so as the Hispanic community is growing, representation should be growing as well, and it should be parallel. And so, but that's not happening. One of the reasons that's not happening is because we don't have enough people to get out to vote. There's thousands of registered Latino voters in Oklahoma, but only a small number get out to vote. So we have to work on that, and that's the things that we do at the chamber, and many organizations do, is try to get people out to vote because it's important to have that representation in your community.
So,
Absolutely.
and Dave, you said that people don't vote, and that's across the board, regardless of our racial demographics. And I expect it would be true if we could measure it, what some people do by economic demographics. Are there barriers, specific barriers that you think that impede or limit ability to vote? And what are some of the things that you think we could do to encourage people, or to, like Roxanne says, to take their responsibility, duty, and right seriously?
I think there are several barriers in our community. Language is a big barrier, but the other part is lack of us, educating the community on the reasons to vote, and then having the right candidates in place as well. Somebody that looks like yourself, somebody that knows your community, somebody that knows what the needs are in that community, and so what we have seen is over this last few years, we're starting to see more and more Latino candidates uh, start running for different positions. And we're seeing the Latino community start voting more and more. And so we still have to continue working on that, but it really is getting a lot better. But that's a big part, is to have somebody in place that you can trust,
That's
and
right.
somebody that looks like yourself,
That's right.
that will look out for your intentions as well.
That's absolutely right. We're gonna get Gabby in. She's got a little audio issue, but there was one key issue that I know she worked on last year, and having to do with driver's license, which people think, oh, that's nothing. But in Oklahoma, and particularly in Oklahoma City, if you can't drive a car and drive legally, it can present a lot of problems. So, Gabby, we're going to just deal with the underlying noise because, and speak loudly, because what you have to say is important. Tell us about this whole issue of driver's license, and then Dave, I'm going to come back to you
Okay.
and talk about why you think that this is an important issue, and then Roxanne, we can talk about how we can maybe change this. Gabby?
Absolutely.
Right. So, hey, hopefully you can hear me well over. I think it's my computer fan that's causing the issue. But yeah, driver's licenses came up this legislative session, and it might seem like a trivial thing, but it actually is a very big deal. In a car-aligned state like ours, driving is an everyday part of life. We drive to school, we drive our children to school, we drive to work, to the grocery store, to doctor's appointments. And because of current laws in Oklahoma, about 85,000 Oklahomans who are immigrants who don't have documentation cannot get a driver's licenses. And so this puts what's an everyday part of life out of reach. And the justification many times behind these laws is that, you know, it's unsafe to have people, these people on the road, but in reality, it's unsafe to have untested drivers on the road. And so we made very big progress this legislative session by even just putting it up, because in Oklahoma, a lot of what we hear around immigration tends to be negative. But now that it made it that far, we know that there's an appetite, and we know very well that the community wants this, needs this. And by having people go out there and voting, we can get people into office that know this is a priority and make it a priority every time a legislative session comes around.
And that's just one example of a whole lot of issues that affect particular population groups that maybe we can use to mobilize folk to go vote, because the decisions are being made by people we elect to office.
Well, and
Uh,
that's what I was going to ask, if there are, what other issues are there that directly affect the Latino community that we need to be advocating for, that we need to know about?
David?
Where do we start?
Wherever you want.
Uh, I think there were some laws passed. I want to say 10 to 15 years ago that made it illegal to put documents, state documents, in Spanish,
Mm.
translate them in Spanish. One of our uh, representatives passed that law, uh, which is now, I guess, in prison. But anyway, uh, Angela knows what I'm talking about. Probably you do as well. But anyway, so passed that law, and that law made, for example, books for driver's license. And I know Gabby's pushing the driver's license, and it's a good issue. But you can't even get a book in Spanish, a manual in Spanish, to be able to take that test. So how do you prepare for it if you can't read it? So issues like that
Mhm.
are important, and because of that law, many of the state agencies can't put things in Spanish. It has to be only in English. So that's something that needs to be addressed for sure. That's way outdated for sure, especially with the growing population that we have
Mhm.
today. So that's probably one of the biggest issues out there that's affecting a lot of Latino people uh, that maybe speak some English, but maybe don't speak a lot. And
That's
so
absolutely right.
that
Now,
language
I
barrier.
was not aware of that. I was not aware that state books and state forms could not be made into Spanish. I'm amazed that that's even a law.
Language is a barrier on all levels. Just trying to
Mhm.
find people. If you walk into a place to get your license, and Spanish is your first language, just trying to find somebody there who can who can communicate and make it more understandable is difficult. And it's unfortunate. And I don't know your thoughts, Gabby and David, both on how we change this because it's a cultural shift. So we can think more inclusively, so
Right.
we can appreciate and value cultures that and languages, which is a part of culture, that are different from ours. So we have work to be done. And that goes beyond voting, but it is about civic involvement and civic education. So I know the chamber is really active in a whole lot of places. So before Gabby, before you respond, David, tell us a little more about the work of the chamber and how people might be involved.
Yes, we're very involved in the community. We do a lot of programs. Actually, I'm going to brag a little bit about Gabby. Gabby just graduated from a Latino Leadership OKC program. It's a program that was program 9. So we put together several years ago. We noticed that we didn't have that representation in Oklahoma City, and so we put together a Latino Leadership OKC program. uh, we patterned it after the Leadership OKC. Actually, Beth Short with Leadership OKC helped us put it together 9 years ago. And the reason we did is, but we saw that we needed more Latinos, Latinas involved in many different areas, sitting on boards, commissions, and running for office. And so, over the last 9 years, we've had several people graduate, and young people. Uh, Gabby there can be a great representative or something. We've been talking to her about that, I think, during the class as the class was going on. But we need people like her. We need people like young people that can get out and represent the community. And that's one of the things the chamber has done is put that program together and get people into the community, learn about the resources that are available in the community to be able to spread the word to just everyday people, to learn about what resources are available to them. And so what we purposely take them to different places to learn about the different programs, the different things that are available in Oklahoma City, so they can go back and help educate the community. So that's one of the biggest things that we do on the social side. We have so many different programs. We have a women's program, a Hispanic Chamber women's business program, where we help women open up businesses. We started that 3 years ago. We've served over 300 Latinas, helping them open up their business. Out of that, we've created about 47 new businesses. So economic development is a big part of what we do. Yeah.
That's 40. That's a whole lot of new businesses. That's a lot of churning our resources in our own communities. And
Yeah.
again, I heard a discussion the other day about it's about taxes, but it's about business. And the number was like 85, 95% or something like that of all people in Oklahoma work for small businesses. So it's not that, I mean, we think the big companies bring jobs. Well, they do, but they don't employ the majority of us. Gabby, David was bragging on you, but I could brag on you too, because I've known Gabby since she was like 12 or 13 or younger. It's a young person who understands this and works on these issues every day. But kind of take that hat off, Gabby, your professional hat, and just put on your regular Gabby, community activist, community advocate person, and young person too. Talk to us a moment about some of the things that you think we could do better or need to happen to engage more voters in the Hispanic community.
Well, right now I'm seeing kind of two sides of I guess my generation. I see one side that's really energized, that understands the importance of voting, of how who we send to office affects our lives, how they make decisions for all of us. But I see another side that perhaps it comes from cultural background of the Hispanic population being more recently close to immigrants and not used to having that ability to vote, that what happens at the state capitol seems removed. And there's this kind of complacency like, oh, I cannot affect it. Whatever will happen, will happen. And so there's these two halves, one that's energized, one that doesn't feel that their vote will matter. And I feel that it's important to get the word out that it does matter, that they're making decisions for all of us. And if we send the right people, then what issues are important to us, to them, will be, spoken about in halls that have historically not included us. And, voting initiatives like this make a big impact, getting the word out on who's the candidate, understanding what issues are up for stake, and where the conversations are leading at the state capitol.
We just had a conversation with representatives of the League of Women Voters, and they do a great voter guide. And Roxanne will be back with us. She's an active member and a board member, but it would be great to put that voter guide in Spanish or other languages that have large populations here in Oklahoma, and figure out a way. I know that's money, but we can figure out a way to try to make that happen. And Gabby, I'm glad you said about people walking the halls who represent us, who are from our communities, who look like us, who really can't articulate issues because they're their own lived experiences, and just trying to encourage young people to run for office. Old people too, David, you and I think we've had our turn. You may go again. I think I'm through with that whole process.
And I'm done.
I'm done too. So Gabby, it's your generation to
Right.
really kind of step up to the plate, and the more we see you, the more normal it will become. And my hope and desire is that any person who has some interest in running for office can say, I can do that.
And it really is so important. I think this last year, 2 years ago, we had our very first legislative Latino caucus. Like Latinos make up around 12% of the population, but we have less than a handful of people representing us at the Capitol. That those numbers need to match up and speak to what is going on in Oklahoma.
And same with the school board. We want to. We work at the state level, but local elections are so important. Think about Oklahoma City City Council. Think about Oklahoma City School Board, and we know the demographics for the school board. So um, equitable representation really is important. And I just appreciate the work that you both do. David, I appreciate the work of the chamber and your steadfastness, and Gabby, who's a great role model for all young people, just not other Latino young people, but for any and every young person who aspires to make a difference. So, any closing remarks from either of you?
No, we just have to continue getting people educated in our community about the benefits and the reasons to vote. And so, it's something that we have to continue to work on. It's not something we can just do one time. We have to do it throughout the year and see what happens.
That's absolutely true. Gabby?
Yeah.
Similar, it's just important to get people involved. Even if you yourself cannot vote for whatever reason, there are still other ways to get mobilized in the democratic process. And, just getting that knowledge out there that you do have a voice, no matter what your immigration status is, what your background is. If something matters to you, you can advocate for it.
Oh man, that's a perfect way to end this conversation. Even though you can't vote, that doesn't mean you don't have a voice. You just gotta we have to create opportunities and not make it difficult for people, but we also have a responsibility to say, I'm gonna get my 2 cents worth in. And I'm gonna make sure I'm heard. Thank you, David. OK Policy is quite pleased and proud to be a partner with the Oklahoma City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And we're proud of Gabby's affiliation with us. And we stand ready to help you any way we can. I appreciate you taking the time with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
You guys have a great
Thank
day. Roxanne, I tell you, it's been a good day. I mean, I can't imagine we're almost 2 hours into the day, and we got a bunch of hours to go and a lot more fun things to go. And I hear tell we've got some people all the way in Stillwater. Is that right?
Yes, we do. We have some people at the west